Welcome back, everyone. We've got a great drive for you today on 10.69.3.1. Lots of exciting stuff. Foiled by leaves. We're not sure why that happened. Almost hit a few vehicles, so let's see what happens. So right away here, we're running this whole video at double speed. We're coming up to a crosswalk here in a second. And there's some pedestrians way down the left. You can see the lights are flashing and the car did not stop. I had to slam on the brakes and take over there, which I was a bit surprised at. Normally FSD has been quite good at stopping for pedestrians, but not this time for some reason. So we're taking a right here up a pretty steep little narrow winding road up the hill. In the past versions when I did this drive, it was quite hesitant and jerky. It seems to be quite smooth now. For the most part, it hesitated a little bit when cars were coming towards it, but not too bad. So at the top of this hill last time, it got a bit confused with the parking lots here. So I'll have a look and see how it does this time. And there you can see it got pretty confused and went into the parking area, but it did manage to find its way back out and take a right. There's another parking area at the top. We'll see how it does here. And again, it kind of almost hit the curb. Remember, this is double speed, so it's not quite as bad as it seems. But it did okay. Definitely probably looks like I was drunk driving there. So coming down this hill, pretty good speed control, quite decent. A little bit of hesitation as these cars were coming, but it pretty much did the right thing. This person in an Amazon truck getting out didn't seem to phase it too much. So here you can see the navigation was heading to the left at this road, but I was changing it at the last second to make it go a different way. So the car got into the right turn lane and then wanted to make the left turn from the right turn lane, and there was a car there, so I had to take over there. Probably my fault with the navigation confusion, so I won't hold that against it this time. So just picking a few more different random places to try to find some interesting locations here. So here we're taking a right at a four-way stop, and then we're merging into this traffic. There's a stop sign, and then we're supposed to merge in. The car proceeded out when there's clearly cars coming. Cars were clearly on its nav, so I had to take over here. I tried again multiple times to see if I could get it to properly merge in, but it wouldn't do it, so eventually I had to wait until it was clear, and then I engaged it in it and it pulled in. So I'm not sure what happened there. It had a pretty good view of those vehicles. I'm not sure what happened. So now we're taking a right here at University of Victoria and heading down the hill. So in normal traffic like this, when it's nothing too unusual, it does quite well now. That merge lane still is a bit of an issue. It doesn't really do a proper merge, but with no traffic it was okay in that case. So this type of thing, normal driving around the city, it is quite smooth in 10.69.3.1. It is smoother than some other versions. But you'll see coming up here that there is still some, once you throw some tricky stuff at it, it does still struggle a fair amount. So here in the nav you can see it's supposed to make a left turn here at this next intersection. It should be going left here, but it missed that turn. Then it tries to, I think it was supposed to turn left here, but it missed it for some reason. It continued straight, so then it re-navigated and went around it. So we'll see how it does down here. I'm just getting rid of my tracker here. Unfortunately, I didn't Didn't keep track because I was so busy trying to drive and pay attention to the road, so I won't be using the tracker system here from EV Guy Canada, but thanks to EV Guy Canada for putting that tracker together. It's an excellent tool to use. I think if anybody else wants to try it, you can probably get in touch with EV Guy Canada and see if you can get onto the trial of that software. So we're taking a left turn here, waiting for traffic. Pretty good. It's a bit disconcerting when the wheel jerks to the left before it actually is ready to make the turn, but it does generally do that type of thing safely now. So here, a pretty narrow road with some pedestrians crossing, but it did a fairly good job there, waiting for that vehicle. Making a left turn, it got a little bit confused here. I'm not really sure why. You can see the nav is a bit confused, so maybe that contributed to part of that. So there's the nav fixing itself up again. Now it's proceeding along this little narrow street here. Taking a right, no traffic, so no issues here. Now here's the second part of the video where we really get into some interesting stuff. This is around the Oak Bay Estevan area for the people that know Victoria a little bit. Very narrow and tight roads, very strange types of configurations, as you'll get to in a minute. So we're taking a right here and then I believe an immediate left. So let's see how it does here. So very smooth there actually, getting into that immediate left turn here. It's a very strange intersection. It caught that stop sign a little bit late and had to hit the brakes pretty hard, but it did manage to stop. Okay. So you can see the roads are quite convoluted in here, but it's handling it fairly well so far. Taking a right here. No traffic, so pretty straightforward. Here's a 5-way intersection. I'll have to try this one again a different direction. This way it's actually not too bad. It hesitated a tiny bit with the change in direction there, but it did quite well. So having to redo the nav points all the time is a bit of a challenge to keep up with. Here's the next one here. I'm going to take a left here coming up. There's just a tiny bit of a sprinkling of rain, which doesn't seem to bother it. If it's any more than this, it does start to kick out fairly quickly. So this one had the pedestrian there, plus the car coming through, but it handled it quite nicely. So here's some interesting parts here that I noticed with the leaves on the ground. You'll see a lot of leaves are down here, and the car really seemed to struggle with that. So as we're passing a few of the leaf piles, try to watch it on the visualization. You'll see sometimes it has this little shadow of a bump, so it does see some things when there's piles of leaves. But one of the big challenges here, and also later on in the video, is when there's a significant amount of leaves on the road, it really seems to struggle, and I think it thinks that it might be gravel or off-road or non-drivable surface for some reason, and that really seems to mess it up. So you'll see a lot more of that in the next few minutes here. Left turn here, did a fairly good job of taking its turn at the 4-way stop. Another Amazon truck, they're everywhere, hoping to see those be electric in the next little while. These aren't the electric Rivian ones yet. So taking a right down Oak Bay Avenue, this is a fairly busy part of town. There were some people on the left here. It was waiting for the people. Pedestrians crossing. It was waiting for the cars here. And then it did a fairly smooth job of pulling out. There was a car turning right there. It didn't really pull out quick enough. Normally, if I'm driving and a car has got its signal on and slowing down to take a right turn, I would pull out a bit sooner, but that's to be expected that it can't quite do that yet. Here on the right hand side you can see the pylons are sometimes modeled as pylons, sometimes as cones, and sometimes as little shadows like you can see on the right there. Those are the ones I hit a while ago on FSD in the rain and the dark, but hopefully they seem to be okay in the daytime here. So coming down the street, I was hoping we'd encounter some pedestrians crossing at the crosswalks, but nothing so far. Here's an interesting little piece. This car on the right here is pulling out of the parking lot. I was wondering if it would be able to let that person in. It doesn't really have to, but some drivers might decide to let somebody like that in. Let's see what happens. No, doesn't let them in, but that's okay. So now in 700 meters you can see there we're turning onto Rockland Avenue. So this gets into an even older, tighter part of town. Again, lots of leaves coming up here, which are really interesting challenge I found. That I wasn't really expecting to be a challenge. As a driver, you don't even think twice about leaves covering the road. But you'll see here, it's quite an interesting challenge for the FSD apparently. Okay, turning left onto Rockland Avenue. Again, that little twitch of the wheel, which is a bit disconcerting, but it does seem to do it okay. Here the roads get quite a bit narrower, as you can see, but it seems to handle it okay, especially if there's curbs. Again, here when you see the leaf piles, the red edges of the road get a little bit fuzzier on the navigation or on the visualization there, but it seems to handle it okay. Now here's an interesting part. So on the left hand side at the end of this navigation on the screen, you can see we're coming up to an old castle in Victoria. I forget now what it's called, but we're going to try to push it through the entrance into that castle there. Let's see what happens here. This is quite an exciting one. There's a little 30 sign in the center of the road, which it actually does pick up on. And it does set it to show the 30 there on the screen. So here's the entrance to the castle coming up in 100 meters. So again, you can see the leaves here covering the road, and it really struggles trying to figure out if it can drive over them or not. It ends up really cranking the wheel and managing to get into the entrance here. So now watch carefully the visualization what happens here. It gets into this open parking lot area and it's really struggling to figure out where to go. It almost went through that little archway there. Here it's going 33 and we're setting the nav again. And then it speeds up to 44 and heads straight out that gate at 44 kilometers an hour. It did not seem like it was planning on stopping for the crosswalk or for the road, so I have no idea what's going on there. I'm going to take another loop around and see how it does the second time. So here's a person coming. Again, it's doing some crazy stuff trying to figure out how to get around these leaves, which is pretty funny. Here again, second time. This time, I just noticed now it's down to 15 kilometers an hour. I don't know if it was like that the first time. But then it jumps back up to 40, barely misses that castle. and gets out of here again. Let's see if it does the same thing. This time it's at 40 again, and coming out the edge, had to slam on the brakes. So no good there. Then it headed straight across the other side of the road, and I had to manually take over and back up, so I have no idea what happened there. Bunch of people thinking, what a crazy driver, I'm guessing. So that was quite an interesting one. I'll definitely come back and test at that location again. I don't really know what was going on with some of that stuff. Pretty interesting. So speed bumps, a couple speed bumps there. Doesn't really handle them very well. I pretty much always go over them too fast or have to take over. Left turn here. There's some interesting barriers in the center of the road here, which it seems to handle fairly well. So here's some more speed bumps. We happen to be going fairly slow with the lead car in front of us there, so that didn't seem to be an issue. But in general, when there's no lead car, it just doesn't really detect them. It seemed to slow down just a touch before it hit them here, but just a few meters before, so really too late to make a significant difference. So again, here we're getting into some really interesting stuff. Very tight roads, lots of leaves, lots of obstructions in the middle of the road. So here you can see with the leaves on the road, again, the lines get fuzzy. It really doesn't know where to go. It happened to make it through this one, but it really confuses it. So here you can see these interesting types of planters in the middle of the road. It doesn't really seem to have a problem with those. Doesn't really get over to the right far enough. So here's it's trying to go straight at this closed road. It's really trying to figure out how to get in around the barriers. At the last second, it decides to not go into there, and it rerouted. So now it's trying to take us around the block and get into that road from the backside. You can see the little fuzzy blotches showing the leaf piles here and some of the visualization again. Taking a right, trying to get into that same road that was closed there from the back side. And again, we've got leaves on the road here. That seems to mess it up a lot. So here, it stops in the middle of the road. For some reason, it just will not proceed. I don't even really see too many leaves here. I had to push it forward at the accelerator, and then it gave me a system error. I was able to re-engage again shortly after. It's supposed to take a right at that road we just passed. It missed it, so now it's going around the block again, rerouting, and it doesn't know that road is closed, so it's going to try to go down the closed road again. Here we've got this funny little barrier here. I thought it might hit it because it wasn't really showing up in the visualization at all. It did barely miss it. I'm not sure if it was luck or if I actually saw it. So now it's trying to take a right. You can actually take a right here before those pylons. It is moving and backing up a tiny bit, moving and backing up. It's just really confused. I might have eventually nudged the accelerator a little bit to get it going. It missed the turn again. So here we go, one more time. Let's see if it can make it the second time. See if anything changes here. It flinched a little bit with some of the leaf piles here, but it did manage to make it. So taking a right again. It's going to be going down the same road we just came down. Let's see if it stops in the middle of the road again, just like it did a few minutes ago. Here we go, taking that right. It should be taking the right after these cars, which is covered in leaves, so it doesn't see it at all. It stopped in the middle of the road again, and we got a system error a second time. So it's strange that it's always the same spot. So it missed that road because it can't seem to see it with the leaves covering it. So here we go around again. Let's see what happens now. So this is a funny little infinite loop we're in here now. There's that barrier again. It did successfully take a right again, so that doesn't really seem to be an issue, even though it doesn't show up on the nav. So it's trying to take a right, it's really having a look, and then I nudged the accelerator because there was a car coming out. I didn't want to block them. So I think that's about enough of that, so let's head somewhere else, see what else we can find. Well, it's rerouting here a few times because I missed a couple turns as it was trying to figure out the navigation. So left here you can see the leaf pile got it a little bit confused there, but it did actually end up driving over the leaves, which I was a bit surprised at after all the issues with leaves before. Managed to do okay dodging that vehicle. I did take over here just because it was a bit too tight. So now we're trying to make a left turn followed by an immediate right, which could be a little bit tricky. Fair amount of traffic here on this road. So you can see quite a bit going on. It saw that pedestrian. Seemed to be pretty good. We're waiting for this car to turn and then we'll make our attempt at a left turn. So on previous versions, left turns were pretty horrible. So if it can do anything approaching reasonable, I'd be pretty happy, really. Let's see how we do. There he goes. Okay, so you can see the creep line here. The creep line always seems to show way too far into the road. So there you go. It did manage to jump out and to make an immediate right, which is pretty impressive. Navigating around people there, getting into their vehicles was quite smooth. Now right turn and an immediate left again. Lots of obstacles, very tight roads, doing quite well here. Again, speed bumps, it's slowing down a tiny bit for them, but quite a bit too late. So this car is waiting for us, and the car did a good job proceeding through there. Another speed bump. You can see it slow down by 3 kilometers an hour just before the speed bump, but really not quite slow enough. These are fairly gentle ones, so I didn't take over. But it still needs a bit of work dealing with speed bumps for sure. So you can see there's a bit of a funny jog in the intersection here. The tentacle, like I call it, seems to be jumping around a little bit. Let's see if it can smoothly navigate this intersection here. So we're going around the back of the hospital here, but it's a fairly straightforward little route around the back, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue, I don't think. Then we're heading back up towards the university, and we'll see what we can find up there. There's got a really big circle around and some roundabouts and stuff like that. So here got a little bit spooked at the bus coming in tight quarters like that, but it managed to come out okay. You see it's mapping all of these pylons fairly well. Taking a right here. Speed limit is shown as 50 right now. I think this might be the road where it always shows the wrong speed limit. We'll see where that part is. Got a little bit confused there with the right turn. Again, speed bumps aren't great. Making a left turn here. So again, a fair amount of traffic. Here I probably would have pulled out a little bit sooner than the car did, but it was reasonable. You can see that it took a couple fractions of a second to hesitate to figure out if it could pull out, but it did pull out safely in front of that vehicle. So that seems to be quite a bit better in this version than the last one. Before, it would pretty much fail on every single left turn. So that's improved. This is the road where the speed limit is wrong. It has been forever. For some reason it's showing up 30 when it really should be 50, I think. So I turned up the speed limit here. Now we're heading back up to the university, so it does seem to be doing okay here. It got into the right lane. In the past I've had it go wrong on getting into the left turn lane, for example, at places like this. That little jog there, it seemed to handle okay as well. So in general, like I said before, a lot of the driving here on 10.69.3.1 does seem to be smoother, but like we've seen the last few minutes here, definitely still some issues that would have to be fixed eventually. Something like leaves shouldn't be tripping it up. The full speed coming out of that castle at a T intersection, not great. I'm not sure what happened there. So around that bus you just saw, that was quite smooth. It's been doing that for quite some time, passing obstacles like buses or tree trimming trucks or something like that. So that's really nothing too new. So here, changing the navigation to go around the University of Victoria, large circle there. It got mixed up there because I didn't have a navigation in yet, so I won't hold that against it. I had to get out of the left turn lane there because I wanted to go straight through here. So here we are proceeding around UVic Circle. There's two lanes here. They're not very well marked, but it doesn't seem to be having any problems with it. This is straight through with the merge on the road coming from the left. So that seemed to be easy. Here you can see the visualization of a lot of the crosswalks. So if you watch for the crosswalks on the visualization, you'll see them show up in gray, a little gray bar across the road. It's been doing that for quite some time. Seems to be fairly reliable. Here's a person crossing. Oh no, sorry, that person wasn't crossing. So it didn't flinch with that person walking near the crosswalk. Here's a person crossing, and it slowed down nicely for that. You can see a few more crosswalks visualized on the screen there. Another person crossing, nice smooth slow down there. Here's a roundabout coming up. This is a pretty easy one, no traffic, but it very smoothly came through here. So in the next few days I'll have to go out to the airport where I've done some testing in the past with the multiple roundabouts with multi-lanes that are quite complex. Apparently I've heard that there's some decent improvements on roundabouts. Here's an interesting one. We're supposed to go straight, and oh, sorry, I'll save that comment for later. It's coming up in a few minutes. So apparently roundabouts has improved quite a bit, so I'll do some testing of that soon here. This next nav is where we have an interesting error. So you can see we're taking a right and then a left after a few minutes. Right turn no problem, even though there's some strange pylons there to mark the bike lane. So here we're taking a left. We're nearing the end of a navigation, so you usually have to cancel those before you get there to make a smooth transition. So this is a bit of a tricky left. You're coming down a hill and a bit of a oncoming turning vehicle. It did do a good job of letting that vehicle go. Now watch what happens here. Before we get to our navigation point, it decides to turn into this driveway. I have no idea what happened. It was not on the navigation. It was supposed to proceed straight, so I had to take over here and back up. I've never seen anything like that before. Of course, I've seen it ignoring navigation, but pulling into a driveway like that, it wasn't even trying to turn left, so I have no idea what happened there, really. That little pause there is because of the navigation routes, so I took over here while I was resetting the navigation. So here we're approaching the end of our trip, so hope you enjoyed the video. I thought it was quite exciting and some pretty interesting stuff that we got to see there. So please, if you're enjoying the channel content, share with your friends, like and subscribe, have a look at some of the other videos that I've posted in the past 6 or 8 months. I'll definitely have more content coming. Let me know if there's anything specific you'd like to see. Here we have some pedestrians that we're crossing, multiple cars coming, so it's doing a decent job waiting there. Yeah, if you'd like to see anything specific around Victoria or any specific types of challenges you can think of course, remember that I always try to throw some really complicated challenges at the car. So in general, traffic, it is getting quite good. I'd say 97, 98, 99% of the time it's doing a really good job driving. So don't take my videos as a fault of FSD. I'm pretty impressed with it, but as you can see, there's still quite a number of edge cases that they need to work on, which might take quite a while, I would think. So thanks for watching and have a good day.